Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krišna Hare Krišna Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krišna, Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Pancha Tattva, Pancha Tattva, Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Gaur Premanandi, Hare Bo, Jaya Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Rajaka, Charja, Asatura Sutta Sri Srimad ISKCON BBT founder Charles Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Prabhishta Om Vishnupad Divine Grace Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakho Hosh Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Brajabhumi Namadam Ki Jai, Shri Namadwe Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Lachal Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai. It was beautiful worship. Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Going back to home, back to Godhead Ki Jai, ISKCON Ljubljana Yatra Ki Jai, Brihad Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, International Food for Life Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nittai Gaur Premanandi Hare Hare Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, who is the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Praeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. My regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and my rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, whose worship with transcendental songs becomes established, as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're continuing our reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, entitled Creation. And this is chapter 9, entitled The Passing Away of Bhishmadev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. And today's text is 48. Yes, okay. So remember the Sanskrit lesson from yesterday. That last word on the first line is not gatva, it's gatva. And who are the deities here? Not panchatattva, panchatattva. Tattva. Not tattva, tattva. Okay? So you'll find in all of the BBT books, at least the ones we put out in English, I'm not sure what you do when you translate it to your language, there's a Sanskrit pronunciation guide. So the idea is that we should try to learn how to pronounce Sanskrit properly. It's not difficult, actually. Sanskrit grammar is extremely difficult, but the pronunciation is very easy. If there's no accent, no diacritic on a word, then all the syllables are given the same stress. However, when there is like that last word, it's got twa, because the last syllable ends with a long A. So when there's a short A, no emphasis. When there's a long A, and similarly for all the other letters of the alphabet, there's no diacritic, then there's no emphasis. Okay. Tato yudhisthiro gatva saha Krishno gajavaham pitarang santvayang asa gandharing cha tapisvinim. I'm not done. The speaker should always do the verse 3 times before turning over. Tato yudhisthiro gatva saha Krishno gajavaham pitarang santayamasa gandharing cha tapasvinim. Tato yudhisthiro gatva saha Krishno gajavaham pitarang santayamasa gandharing cha tapasvinim. Now please chant. Tato yudhisthiro gatva saha Krishno gajahvayam pitarang santvayam tassa gandharim cha tapasvinim. Yudhisthiro gatva saha Krishno gajavayam pitarang santvayamasa Tato yudhisthiro gatva Gandharim cha tapasvinim. Very good. Vaishnavins? Tato yudhisthiro gatva saha Krishno gajavayam pitarang santayamasa Gandharing cha tapasvinim. Tato Yudhishthiro gatva Saha Krishno gajavayam Pitarang santayamasa. One more tip. When you see the Anuswara, which is the M with the diacritic over it, it's pronounced like an NG, like in sing. That's why so many people in India are named Singh. Singh. So it's not Lord Nrsimhadev, it's Lord Singhadev. That M with the dot is pronounced like an NG, Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev ki jai. So today we have two of those. It's Pitarang and Gandharim. Okay. Word meanings. Tataha. Thereafter. Yudhishthiraha. Maharaj Yudhishthira. Gatva. Gatva. Going there. Saha. With. Krishnaha. The Lord. Gajavayam. In the capital name, Gajavaya Hastinapur. Pitaram. Unto his uncle, Dhritarashtra. Santayam asa. Consoled. Gandharim. The wife of Dhritarashtra. Cha. And. Tapasvinim. An ascetic lady. Srila Prabhupada's translation for this verse. Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthira at once went to his capital, Hastinapura, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt, Gandhari, who was an ascetic. Please repeat. Thereafter, Maharaj Yudhishthira at once went to his capital, Hastinapura, accompanied by Lord Sri Krishna, and there he consoled his uncle and aunt, Gandhari, who was an ascetic. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, the father and the mother of Duryodhana and his brothers, were the elder uncle and aunt of Maharaj Yudhishthira. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the celebrated couple, having lost all their sons and grandsons, were under the care of Maharaj Yudhishthira. They were passing their days in great agony over such a heavy loss of life and were practically living the life of ascetics. The death news of Bhishmadeva, uncle of Dhritarashtra, was another great shock for the king and the queen, and therefore they required solace from Maharaj Yudhishthira. Maharaj Yudhishthira was conscious of his duty, and he at once hurried to the spot with Lord Krishna and satisfied the bereaved Dhritarashtra with kind words from both himself and the Lord also. Gandhari was a powerful ascetic. Although she was living the life of a faithful wife and a kind mother, it is said that Gandhari also voluntarily blindfolded her eyes because of the blindness of her husband. A wife's duty is to follow the husband cent per cent. And Gandhari was so true to her husband that she followed him even in his perpetual blindness. Therefore, in her actions, she was a great ascetic. Besides that, the shock she suffered because of the wholesale killing of her 100 sons and her grandsons also was certainly too much for a woman. But she suffered all this just like an ascetic. Gandhari, although a woman, is no less than Bhishmadeva in character. They are both remarkable personalities in the Mahabharata. You can turn this down so there won't be any feedback. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pachayane Nirvisesha Shunyavani Paschataya Shatayane Om Agyanantimirandasya Gyananjanashanakaya Chakshurumilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishnam Shnapitam Jena Bhutale Swayamrupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Kapadakam Shri Guru Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sabiratam Sahaganam Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sujivam Savetam Savadutam Parijanasaitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Sham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchala Kalpaturu Yasha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitana Pavadebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I'm going to give you a Prahladananda Swami quiz. He's very fond of quizzing his audience. What was the last word in the purport? The very last word in today's purport was? Mahabharata. Yes. What does Mahabharata mean? Maha means great and Bharat, India. So Mahabharata means the history of greater India, which at one time was actually the history of the entire planet. Gradually over time, India became smaller and smaller. And then when the British were thrown out, they decided to make it even smaller. They broke it into Hindustan and Pakistan. And there was a great fighting going on between the two parties. So for many years we didn't have you could say, an ISKCON bona fide version of the Mahabharata. There have been so many editions printed over the years. So in the 90s, I was working with Rita Nana Maharaj. She was doing the translation. Rita was doing the English editing, and I was doing the production and the design of the book. We started out on a big project to make an ISKCON version of the Mahabharata. Bona fide, translated by an ISKCON devotee, edited by an ISKCON devotee. But after the Sabha Parva, there's the Adi Parva is the first part, and then the Sabha Parva, then the project stopped. And Maharaj went off and did other things. But I just found out recently that it was completed. Maharaj went back to the project without involving me, and he finished it, and now it's available. So now we have you could say, of course we had the condensed Mahabharata from Krishna Dharma, along with the condensed Ramayana, but the entire work has now been translated by Sridhara Maharaj, and I think it's available, if nowhere else, at least through the BI, which is associated with Bhaktivedanta Institute.
So it's actually printed? Actually printed?
Yeah. He completed it and they printed it. I haven't seen it personally yet.
Wow.
So, but I was told that it's available through the BI, because he's associated closely with the Bhaktivedanta Institute. So the Mahabharata is where you will find the backstory to everything that we're hearing here in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is just giving little snippets of the history. It's called Itihasa. Itihasa means history, and it's not necessarily presented chronologically. In the West, we are taught history in a chronological fashion. 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, maybe they go as far back as 2,000 years ago. And even that is not accurate, because we know from experience, from history, that history is actually written by the victors. In other words, if somebody invades your country and they take you over, then they rewrite your history according to their taste. So the history that we're taught in school is not necessarily accurate. Not necessarily accurate. It was written by somebody who wanted to present their point of view. But the history, the Mahabharata, and the other itihasas that we get from the Vedic culture, they are accurate. There really is a Narada Muni. It's not a figment of somebody's imagination. And he travels all over the universe, making disciples, spreading the cult of bhakti, as Prabhupada would say. And not just the human beings. He preaches amongst the humans, the demigods, the demons, the animals. Again, it makes it sound like mythology, and that's why outsiders, they branded this as mythological. How can somebody preach to an animal? It's stated that Narada Muni once made a cobra into a disciple. So then he went off, and he came back after some time, and he noticed that the cobra was all beat up and bruised, and he said, what happened? And the cobra told him, well, Guru Maharaj, now that the villagers know that I'm a devotee, they know I won't bite, so they kick me, they beat me like that. So Narada Muni said, I told you not to bite, but I didn't tell you that you can't scare them. So after that, he would do that. If somebody would come to beat him, he would just... Have you ever seen a cobra in person? Anybody here? I've seen them in Mayapur. The king cobra can grow to 18 feet long, which is about 6 meters, almost, a little less than 6 meters. And the specific thing about them is that they can raise the front part of their body to about a third of the length. So if they're 18 feet long, they can raise 6 feet off the ground, which is the height of, average human male, 6 feet. So you approach a king cobra and he raises up to 6 feet, he's looking you in the eyes. So, and as I told the story, when I first went to Mayapur in '76, one of the brahmacharis there told me, he said, Prabhu, if you knew how many cobras are here in Mayapur, you wouldn't come. But they know how to live amongst people and not create much of a disturbance. So the Mahabharata informs us about the backstory about Gandhari. And she was a princess born with full vision, but because she was betrothed, given to Dhritarashtra as a wife, she didn't want to feel superior to her husband. So she voluntarily blindfolded herself. Nowadays, I would hazard a guess that most modern women wouldn't accept a blind man as a husband, what to speak of personally or voluntarily blinding herself so she doesn't feel superior to him. In Kali Yuga, everybody feels superior to everybody. That's why there's so much trouble here in this Yuga. Everyone, no matter who they are, they could be living on the street, but they feel internally that I'm superior to that guy driving by in a Mercedes. He thinks he's a big shot, but I'm actually a better guy. And everybody feels superior. The children, very soon after they've been nurtured to adulthood, then they start feeling superior to the parents. The parents don't know anything. They're so backward. We have a saying in America, if you want to know what's really going on in the world, ask a teenager. Because the teenagers, they're just out of school, but they feel they know everything. And they can tell you what's going on. So Gandhari, she voluntarily blindfolded herself so that she wouldn't feel superior to Dhritarashtra. Now, the younger brother of Dhritarashtra is Pandu, and he gave birth to these 5 sons. Yudhishthira, Bhimasena, Arjuna, and then the twins, Nakula and Sahadeva. But at that time, Gandhari, you could say she was a rival queen in the royal court, because she was married to Dhritarashtra, who took over the position of king temporarily until these Pandavas would come to maturity, because their father, Pandu, had passed away. That's a whole other story we won't get into. So Gandhari was a little bit jealous that Kunti already had children and she didn't have any. Actually, Kunti was the mother of Yudhishthira, Bhimasena, Arjuna. The twins were, their mother was, what's her name? Starts with an M. Pandu's second wife. I'm having a senior moment. Anyway, they had a different mother. The twins had a different mother. So Gandhari was feeling a little bit jealous that Kunti already had children and she didn't. And she was pregnant. And she was so upset that Kunti already had a child that she found in her stomach and aborted this fetus. Came out as just an undeveloped lump. But Vyasadeva, as I said in a previous class, he's intimately involved with this, everything going on in the Mahabharata history. So anyway, he came and advised that this lump should be separated into 100 parts, and each part should be put in a specific pot with a specific liquid in there to keep it alive. And so eventually, even though she had aborted that original fetus, she gave birth to 100 sons. So that's where the 100 sons come from. Not like she gave birth individually to 100 sons. That lump came out, it was divided into 100 parts, and each part became one of the sons. However, because she had blindfolded herself voluntarily, she developed some very potent mystic power. So she understood that the war was going to take place between her sons and the Pandavas and their supporters. So one day, she ordered her eldest son, Duryodhana, to come and see her privately. Her idea was that because she had this mystic power, if she were to take off the blindfold, anybody she would look at, they would become physically impervious, strong. They could not be defeated physically. So she told Duryodhana to come and see her privately naked. But of course, Krishna is God, he knew what was going on, so he saw Duryodhana walking down the hallway of the palace naked. So he said, what are you doing? Why are you walking in the palace naked? So he said, my mother told me. He said, no, at least put on a gamsha. So he did. He put on a gamsha, and when he went before his mother, she took off the blindfold and looked at him. She realized, oh my God, Krishna has foiled my plan. So he became impervious everywhere except around the middle. So later on, when he was fighting with Bhimasena, club fight, at the end, after the war was over, they got into this fight because Bhima had vowed to kill him because he had done so much harm to the Pandavas. So anyway, they got into a battle and they were fighting and Bhima couldn't defeat him. They were both very strong. Bhima was very strong. He was that stronger, so he could give very strong blows, but Duryodhana had been trained by... Who trained Bhimasena? I mean, Duryodhana in the art of club fighting. Lord Balaram. So Duryodhana, he wasn't as strong as Bhima, but he had the moves. He knew how to evade and how to counterattack. He was faster. So the fight was going on. Nobody was winning. So then Krishna indicated, so Krishna indicated to Bhimasena to hit him down here, which in club fighting is not to be done. It's illegal to hit somebody, just even nowadays in boxing, it's illegal to hit somebody below the belt, it's called. You have to keep your blows up here. So in those days, that also it was illegal to hit the other fighter below the belt. But Krishna knew that's the only way you're going to defeat him. So he told Bhimasena, you do that. So Bhimasena, he's a devotee, whatever Krishna tells him to do, he will do. So he hit him below the belt, broke his thighs, and that was the end of the fight. So it's a long history, this Mahabharata. If you've not read it, I would suggest you can at least read the condensed version from Krishna Dharma or get this now completed version from Sridhar Maharaj. So, although throughout this whole fight, Dhritarashtra had sided obviously with his 100 sons, even though he had been advised before the battle, Lord Balaram had agreed to go and try to mediate, to get them to not fight. So he went to Hastinapur. The Kauravas, they were inhabiting the throne at that point. So Lord Balaram went on a mission of diplomacy to get them to not fight. He said, just give your cousins, the Pandavas, at least some small area to rule. They're Kshatriyas, they have to rule. You can't expect them to become, like beggars, but give them something to rule over and then we can avoid the fight. But they said, no, we will give them as much land as you can put a pin into. And they insulted Lord Balaram and insulted Krishna. The only reason why Krishna is allowed to
have the royal insignia is because we have allowed him. On and on they were insulting. So Lord Balaram got angry. And if you're intelligent, you don't make Lord Balaram angry. So Lord Balaram, what did he do? You know, the story is there in Krishna book. He took his plow and he struck the earth, and he was dragging the entire city of Hastinapur into the Ganges River. So at that point they woke up, they came to, oh my Lord Balaram, please, please. We're sorry, we didn't mean to offend you, etc. But still, they went ahead and fought the battle. So now after the battle is over, Yudhishthira is the victor, and which is what Krishna wanted. He wanted one of his devotees, namely Yudhishthira, to be the emperor of the world. He did not want Duryodhana to occupy that position. So now that everybody was dead except for the Pandavas, which Krishna predicted, it was his desire. You'll find that in the 11th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Kalosmi lokashaya krit prabhidha. Lokan samahartam itam prabhidham. He said, time I am, and I have come to destroy everything, except for you and everyone, except for you, the Pandavas, everybody here, because this is before the battle, obviously, speaking Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, before the battle, he said, except for you Pandavas, everybody here is going to die. It is my arrangement. So now the battle is over, everybody has died. All the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and all the grandsons and everybody who was supporting them, including Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev, although he's a devotee of Krishna, he felt obliged to support Duryodhana and company. So because of that, he had to be killed also. So now Bhishma Dev has passed away, and Yudhishthira, along with Krishna, they go back to Hastinapur. Why is it called Hastinapur? What is a hasti?
Elephant.
Hasti is an elephant. So in those days, the means of heavy transport was by elephant. They didn't have any pickup trucks and like that. So any heavy labor that had to be done was done by elephants. So the royal camp had thousands of elephants and other wealthy personalities who can afford. Because an elephant is not an easy animal to domesticate in the first place. Do you know how they domesticate them? They go out into the jungle with a trained she-elephant, and they create an island by digging a deep moat around a section, and there's this one narrow passage for going in. And then they take a trained she-elephant, and the trained she-elephant attracts a bull, and the bull follows her across this narrow path onto this little island, and then they close it up. So now they've trapped him. And then gradually, they break his spirit and domesticate him. That's how it was done in those days. So to domesticate an elephant is not easy, and then once you've domesticated it, to maintain it is not easy, because the elephants are eating upwards of 80 kgs of fodder every day. So if you have thousands of elephants, you have to collect a lot of foodstuffs to feed them. So only the wealthy people and the royal order could maintain elephants. And there were so many elephants in this particular city that it became named Hastinapur. Pura means city, just like we have Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. Pura means city, so Hastinapura means the city of the elephants. All right, I'm going to stop there, just leave a few minutes. Tomorrow is the 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada arriving in the United States. I wanted to say a few words about that, and then we can, if you have any questions. So the history is there in the 7-volume Lilamrita that was written by Satsuma Maharaj. He didn't go out and get all the content himself. There were devotees who went out, especially in India, to interview persons who had any contact with Srila Prabhupada, from his householder days, early days, any contact. So a lot of information was gathered, and then Satsuma Maharaj made it into this 7-volume Lilamrita. If you have that 7-volume Lilamrita, if you look in the very first volume, there's a photograph of myself with Srila Prabhupada, not just me, but it was 76, we had just done the Mayapur portion, because it used to be the Mayapur Vrindavan Festival. Every year, Prabhupada wanted his disciples from around the world to come to the Mayapur Vrindavan Festival. So while I was in Mayapur, I bought a clay mridanga. And I was carrying with me from Mayapur to the next portion, traveling along. We came to Delhi, which is where Hastinapur was. So Delhi, New Delhi. And there Prabhupada was doing, first of all, he was staying in the house of one wealthy life member, supporter. So we would, you know, us brahmacharis, we weren't staying there, we were staying in some hostel somewhere. But we would go when Prabhupada was speaking. And then there was a Pandal program that was arranged where thousands of people came. So you'll see one photograph in that first volume of the Lilamrita where Prabhupada is sitting on his Vyasasana on the stage of this Pandal program. And a few rounds down, I'm sitting there with my mridanga. So, interestingly, we bought so many clay mridangas in India and brought them back to the West, and most of them broke. And that's when Prabhupada said, stop. He said, use your American ingenuity to make a version that won't break, because we're breaking so many. My own drum, a couple of weeks after I went back, I was in India for about 5 weeks, and then I got sick. I mean, dysentery, so I actually went back ahead of the other devotees. So I brought this drum all the way from India, all the way back to Los Angeles. And a few weeks after that, I was in an evening kirtan, Gora Arti, and we're having, at that time there were like 100 brahmacharis in Los Angeles, so we're having this hot kirtan running back and forth, and boom, slammed into another devotee who also had a drum, and both drums broke. So that's why Prabhupada said, stop. He said, make a version that will not break. So that's when the Balaram drum was invented. The shell of the drum is made of fiberglass and the heads are plastic. They don't sound as good as the original, you know, clay drum with leather heads, but at least they don't break. You'd have to take a sledgehammer to that thing to try to break it, and even then it would probably survive. So Prabhupada, on the order of his spiritual master, as you know, very first meeting, he told him to go and preach in English, preach amongst the Western countries like that. But Prabhupada admitted that he had his own plan. He thought, I'm a householder, let me become wealthy, and then I will use my wealth to spread Krishna consciousness. So he tried, but every time he got close to really breaking out financially, it fell apart. So Prabhupada said, I realized later on that Krishna had his plan. And we should all know that. We may have our plan, I may have my plan, you have your plan, but Krishna has his plan, and Krishna's plan is going to prevail. So we have to be conscious of that, and not be so upset if we have some plan and Krishna seems to be steering us in another direction. Of course, we have to always get input from Guru and Sadhu and Shastra. So if we're not sure what's going on, which way to go, we consult Guru. And if Guru is not around still, then we can consult the Shastra and other Vaishnavas, Sadhus. And then Prabhupada set that example. He was Jagat Guru, pure devotee of the Lord, but still, whenever something arose, some discussion, he would always ask his disciples, Brahmananda Prabhu or Brahmananda Maharaj, after he took sannyas, what do you think? Satsarup, what do you think? He would consult his disciples. But sometimes we become so advanced that we don't want to consult anyone. I make a plan and I want to put my plan into action. I don't want anybody's input. That's not so good. That's not so good. Better to invite some feedback in advance from your spiritual master, if he's still alive, and from other devotees, temple authorities like that. What's the harm? Get some feedback and then you can think about it. Like I said, the British, they have a lot of truisms, sayings that so one of them was, look before you leap, think before you speak. Sometimes we just, whatever comes in the mind comes out the mouth, but you should maybe wait at least a millisecond before you say it, because otherwise you may say something. And that includes emails and texts. Think before you hit that send button. Otherwise you may regret. In 1996, this was the early days of email. One ISKCON leader, I don't want to say who, but I've always been a techie, so I happened to be in a temple where he was also there. And he sent one of his disciples to ask me to come to his office. He said, you know, Arcita prabhu, I just sent an email to a god brother, one of our god brothers, and now I regret it. Is there anything that can be done? And I said, I'll try, Maharaj. So in those days, each node had a master. There was a node master for each text or email transmission. So I contacted the node master that I knew, and I said, when this email comes, don't pass it on. So we were successful in preventing that harsh email that he sent to a godbrother from being received. But nowadays it's not like that. It's pretty much instant. You hit send and the person's going to get it in the next second. So think before you speak, and also think before you hit send. So whenever we have plans, we should be eager to get feedback from other devotees. So Srila Prabhupada, yes, in the beginning he was trying to achieve his spiritual master's desire by becoming wealthy and using the wealth for spreading Krishna consciousness. But then he realized gradually, this is not what Krishna wants. So he finally surrendered, took sannyas, and first of all started by inaugurating the League of Devotees in India. And also that was not Krishna's plan, because Krishna wanted him to leave. He wanted him to go to America. So finally, Prabhupada's. The history is there, as you know, you should read. Tomorrow is the anniversary, at least on the calendar in America, BBT calendar in America. And Prabhupada, with great difficulty, published the 3 volumes of the first canto, and then he finally got on the Jaladuta and went to America. So many years ago, for the BBT, I put together a pamphlet called Jaladuta. So I don't know if you have it. Ananta, I don't know if you have this. Anyway, I can show it to you later on.
What is the brochure?
Yes, a brochure called Prabhupada. And he came with the message of the absolute world. So if you don't have it, I can give you a PDF of it. But this was Prabhupada's mission. He surrendered to the desire of his spiritual master, which was Krishna's desire. And 1965, he landed on Commonwealth Pier in Boston, Massachusetts. All alone, after having suffering 2 heart attacks during the journey. So we're all indebted to Srila Prabhupada. If he hadn't made that journey, who knows where we would be, what trajectory our lives would have taken. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All right, any questions or comments before we finish up? Okay, Gacharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, or Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna.